I gave him my heart, my trust, my whole world. But in return, he gave me silence, lies, and tears. There was a time when I believed we were meant to be, that our love was forever. But life had different plans. This is not just a story. This is a journey from heartbreak to healing, from pain to strength. If you have ever loved someone who broke you, stay with me. Because sometimes the worst endings lead to the most beautiful new beginnings. My name is Lily, and I am 28 years old. I still remember the day I met Daniel. It was raining, and I had forgotten my umbrella. I was standing outside a cafe, getting wet. Suddenly, a kind voice said, "Would you like to share my umbrella?" I looked up and saw him, Daniel. He smiled, and something in his eyes made me feel safe. That day, we talked for hours about music, books, dreams, and silly things like how we both hated pineapple on pizza. I laughed more than I had in years. My heart felt light. I did not know then, but that was the beginning of something very special. In the days that followed, Daniel messaged me every morning. "Good morning, sunshine," he would write. At night, we talked for hours on the phone. He made me laugh. He made me feel beautiful. Slowly, I started falling in love. He brought flowers when I was sad. He listened when I was tired. He even remembered small things, like my favorite color, purple, and how I always needed sugar in my tea. I told my best friend, "Lana, I think he is the one." She smiled and said, "I can see it in your eyes." Every weekend, Daniel and I went for long walks in the park. We talked about our future, a small house, 2 dogs, maybe kids someday. He told me, "Lily, I want to grow old with you." My heart melted every time he said that. I believed him. I started dreaming, not just alone, but with him. I imagined our wedding, our family, our life together. Everything felt perfect, too perfect. One evening, Daniel gave me a small gift. It was a bracelet with the word forever written on it. He looked into my eyes and said, "No matter what happens, I promise I will never leave you." I believed every word. I held his hand tightly and smiled, thinking, I am the luckiest girl in the world. But sometimes we do not see the signs when we are too much in love. I did not notice when he stopped calling in the morning. I did not care when his replies became short. I told myself, he must be busy. I trusted him with my whole heart. I remember writing in my diary, one night, "I do not know what I did to deserve Daniel, but I thank God every day." I was so sure, so full of love, so full of hope. My world was full of light, and Daniel was the center of it. But life, it has a strange way of teaching us. When we feel the happiest, it sometimes hides a storm behind the smile. I did not know that my perfect dream was about to turn into the deepest pain I had ever felt. At that time, I was blind in love. I could not see what was coming. I only saw the good, the sweet moments, the soft kisses, the strong hugs. I held on to those memories like a child holds on to her favorite toy. I did not know that my forever was not real, that the man who made promises would soon become the reason for my sleepless nights. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was waiting for Daniel at our favorite coffee shop. He said he would be there by 3 p.m. I reached early, just like always. I wore the bracelet he gave me, the one that said forever. I was smiling, thinking about surprising him with concert tickets. He loved music, and I wanted to make him happy. But 3 p.m. passed, then 3:30. I messaged him, "Are you coming?" No reply. At 4 p.m., I called him. His phone was off. My smile slowly faded. Something felt wrong. My heart began to beat faster, but I tried to stay calm. Maybe his phone battery died. I told myself, maybe he is stuck in traffic. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Something is not right." I waited for 2 hours. Still nothing. I walked home with heavy steps. My heart was confused. My mind was full of questions. That night, I could not sleep. I kept staring at my phone, hoping it would ring. But it stayed silent. My heart was louder than the silence in my room. Why is he not calling? I thought, why is he ignoring me? The next day, I went to his apartment. I knocked on the door. No answer. I called again. No reply. I left a note. "Daniel, please call me. I am worried." 1 day passed, then 2, then 3. On the 4th day, I got a message, but it was not from Daniel. It was from an unknown number. It said, "Please stop calling and messaging Daniel. He is not who you think he is." My hands shook. My chest felt tight. I replied, "Who are you? What do you mean?" The person replied, "I am his wife." Wife? I felt the ground disappear under my feet. Wife? Tears filled my eyes. I read the message again and again. My hands were cold. My heart was breaking. Slowly, painfully, I called the number. A woman answered. Her voice was calm, but cold. She said, "I saw your messages. I thought you should know. Daniel has a family. We have a 5-year-old son." I could not speak. My lips were shaking. My eyes were full of tears. I felt like I could not breathe. She continued, "You are not the only one. I found other girls too. I am tired of his lies." I ended the call. I sat on the floor and cried like a child. My heart was screaming. Why? Why me? Everything he said, every promise, every word was a lie. The bracelet, the forever, the walks in the park, the talks about the future. All lies. I felt like a fool, a broken fool. I trusted him with all my heart, and he broke it into pieces I could not even hold. That night, I cried until my eyes were red. I looked at my phone, at our photos, and then deleted everything. But the pain stayed. I whispered to myself, how can someone say, "I love you," and lie so easily? I was lost, alone, shattered, and that was only the beginning of my heartbreak. After that night, my life changed. I woke up the next morning with a heavy heart. My pillow was still wet from all the tears. The sun was shining outside, but my world felt dark and cold. I stayed in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling. I kept asking myself, was it my fault? Was I not good enough? The questions broke me more than the truth itself. I did not eat that day. I did not talk to anyone. I just cried quietly, hugging myself like I was trying to hold the broken pieces together. My best friend, Emma, called me. I ignored her calls. I felt too ashamed to talk. How could I explain that I loved someone who was lying to me the whole time? 2 days later, Emma showed up at my door. She knocked and said, "Lily, I know you are inside. Please open the door." Her voice was soft, caring. Slowly, I opened the door. The moment she saw my face, she hugged me tightly. I broke down in her arms, crying harder than ever. She whispered, "It is not your fault, Lily. You loved him. You trusted him. That is not something to be ashamed of." Her words felt like a warm blanket on my frozen heart. We sat on the couch, and I finally told her everything. The coffee shop, the missed calls, the message from his wife, everything. Emma listened without judging me. She held my hand and said, "You are stronger than you think. One day, this pain will make you even stronger." At that moment, I did not believe her. I felt weak, empty, and broken. The next few weeks were the hardest days of my life. I could not listen to love songs. I could not walk past the coffee shop. I even avoided the park where we used to walk together. Every little thing reminded me of him. Every memory stabbed my heart. I cried when I saw couples holding hands. I cried when I saw families laughing together. I cried for the dreams that were now dead. One evening, sitting by my window, I promised myself, I will not let this pain define me. I will heal, slowly but surely. It was not easy. Some days, I felt brave. Other days, I felt broken all over again. Some nights, I smiled at the memories. Other nights, I hated myself for ever trusting him. Healing was not a straight line. It was full of ups and downs, smiles and tears. But inside my broken heart, a tiny seed of hope was planted. Maybe, just maybe, one day I could find happiness again. Maybe one day I could smile without pain. And maybe one day I could look back at this chapter and see it as the beginning of my true story. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, very slowly, the pain inside my heart started to change. It was still there, but it was softer now. It did not control me the way it used to. One morning, I woke up and noticed something different. The sun looked a little brighter. The birds sounded a little sweeter. My heart felt just a little lighter. I got out of bed, looked at myself in the mirror, and whispered, "You are strong, Lily. You are still here." For the first time in a long time, I believed it. I decided to make small changes in my life. I started going for walks in the park again. At first, it was hard. Every step reminded me of the times we had spent together. But I kept walking. Step by step, I took my life back. I also started painting again. Painting was something I had loved before I met him, but I had stopped after our relationship took over my world. One evening, sitting by the window, I picked up my old paintbrush and began to paint. My hands were shaky, but my heart felt calm. With every color I brushed onto the canvas, I felt a little more alive. Emma supported me through everything. She encouraged me to join a small art group in our town. At first, I was scared. I thought, what if people judge me? What if I am not good enough? But Emma smiled and said, "You have a gift, Lily. Share it." So I went. The first day at the art group, I was nervous. My hands were sweaty and my heart was beating fast. But then I met people who were kind and welcoming. They shared their own stories of pain and healing. I realized that I was not alone. Everyone carried scars. Everyone had a story. And slowly, I started to believe that maybe my story was not just about heartbreak. Maybe it was about strength, about surviving. One afternoon, while painting a bright sunset, I smiled without even realizing it. It was a real smile, the kind that came from deep inside. I knew I still had a long way to go. Healing was not finished yet. But for the first time, hope was bigger than the pain. I whispered to myself, "You are not broken, Lily. You are blooming." And somewhere deep inside my heart, I knew this was just the beginning of a beautiful new life. 1 year later, my life looked completely different. I was not the same broken girl who cried herself to sleep every night. I had grown stronger, wiser, and more in love with my own life. I still remembered him, sometimes. I still remembered the dreams we had built together. But now, those memories did not bring tears. They brought lessons. I learned that trusting someone is not a weakness. Loving someone with all your heart is not a mistake. The real mistake is losing yourself for someone who does not value you. One sunny afternoon, while displaying my paintings at a small art fair, something beautiful happened. A little girl came running to my booth. She looked at my painting of a bright sunrise and said, "This looks so happy. It makes me want to smile." Her words touched my heart in a way I could not explain. At that moment, I realized something important. I had turned my pain into beauty. I had turned my sadness into strength. I had found my happiness not in someone else, but inside my own heart. Later that evening, I sat by the same window where I had cried so many nights before. But this time, I was not crying. I was smiling. The sky was painted in pink and orange, and the world looked full of promises. I whispered to myself, "Thank you, Lily, for not giving up. Thank you for believing that better days would come." I looked back at my journey, the heartbreak, the sleepless nights, the endless tears, and I felt proud. I had survived. I had grown. I had bloomed. I knew life would still have its ups and downs. There would still be rainy days. But I was no longer afraid, because now I knew my own strength. I knew my own worth. And I knew that true happiness does not come from someone else. It comes from loving yourself, from believing in your own journey. So, I made a promise to myself, a forever promise. No matter what life throws at me, I will always choose myself. I will always choose happiness. And I will always remember that from the deepest heartbreak, the most beautiful happiness can bloom.